developers will quit. Please welcome Anton on the stage.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. So, dzień dobry, everyone. Thank you for waking up and being here among the first people in the conference. As Kate said, I'm currently Director of Engineering at Taranis, agriculture startup. We raised the Series D in 2021 when it was still possible. And right now we are trying to figure out how to become profitable like everyone else. I'm also author of Leading Developers, is newsletter for engineering manager. That's my ideal audience, I say, but also for engineers who want to become managers. And today I'll talk about quitting, job hopping, and hopefully non-obvious stuff, right? Not the same things you hear everywhere. And my goal is for you to have at least one idea, one thing that you didn't know before that you'll take and actually use at your job. I'll start first with a story. It was around a year ago. I arrived at the office at 8:30, a regular day. I went to grab my coffee. And one of my developers, Kate, stops me. That's a different Kate, not you, yeah. And she said she wants to talk with me, which was a bit strange. We had our one-on-one yesterday, and I don't know about you, but I don't talk to people before 10 a.m., and she knows that, so it was kind of weird. But I said, okay, of course. We went to an empty conference, we sat down, and a few words about Kate. She was in the company for 3 years at the time. I was her first manager, and we had a very good relationship, and I was sure, I know everything, I know how it's going for her, so I wasn't prepared for any surprises. And then she said, I don't know how to tell you, I'm interviewing for another company, I reached the reference check stage, and I want to give your phone number as my reference, which I don't know if you imagine that situation. It's a bit weird, right? And my interest is for her to stay. So I'll get back to this story by the end of the presentation, but my goal here for you, if you're a manager, to think the first time somebody told you they are quitting, right? Or if you're not a manager, when the first time you told someone you quit. And for me, that was one of the worst feelings I had at the job. I was a manager for 5 years at that time, usually teams of 4 to 6 developers, and nobody quit. Until that stage, I wanted to believe because I was a great manager, but now I just know I was very lucky. And it really sucks, because everyone tells you that people don't leave jobs, they leave managers, right? That's, as managers, that we believe, we influence everything, and it's always our fault if people leave. And I don't know, I saw some people familiar with that one, but I searched for who said that, and I don't know if you know, but I couldn't find out. But if I had to guess, it was some PhD in psychology that never managed people, never worked in tech, and said it around 40 years ago. And somehow people treat this as truth, right? People leave managers, not jobs. And I checked the data. I don't know what percentage do you think, but I thought it would be maybe 20% leave people because of managers. The reality is only 12%. That's a survey by Culture Amp. So only 1 in 8 people quit because of their managers. And that's my experience too. I've been in tech for 15 years. I'm currently in my 3rd job, so I quit 2 times. Both times I liked my manager. We had a good relationship, and I quit because of other things. So I was a bit angry about that, because I feel that, especially if you read LinkedIn posts, right? Managers are always to blame for problems, and managers are not superheroes. That's not the prompt, by the way. They're just making fun of Polish people. But managers are not really superheroes, right? There are so many things we cannot control. We cannot control the salary. If a developer interviews and the company is willing to pay them 80K, but they ask for 65K, most companies will give them the lower salary. And then they will be stuck with that salary, I would not say forever, but for a while. Because in most places, the raises are based on percentages of the salary, right? 5, 10%. And if they're underpaid, you as a manager, you cannot give them a 20K raise, even if you want to. So this is under our control. The projects in the company, right? If your product manager or leadership decides to do the same projects over again, right? Feature after feature, no innovation, and your people are really tired of that. You don't decide what to work on, right? Same about the mission of the company. If your company is a gaming company and they decide to do a game for teenagers to make them addicted, and your people don't really believe in that goal, but what can you do about it? That's the way to make money, unfortunately, nowadays. The same about the growth of the company. People want to get promoted. They want to become managers. They want to become staff engineers. And it's not, you cannot control that. If the sales are not going well, if there are layoffs, it's not something you control. And there is no opportunity for growth and people leave. So all of those things are not the fault of managers. People leave because of different things. And I was told I took this conversation with Kate a bit personally, and I did, right? Because it really hurt, and I wanted to understand why. And I read about it a bit, and I want to share what I learned about control first. I don't know if those of you know Stoicism, Stoics. There is the dichotomy of control, right? There is things you can fully control. When I wake up in the morning, will we have daily meetings every day, how your team works, you can fully control. Things you cannot control, right, completely, like things I just manage. But the third option, enhancement of this part of Stoicism, is the influence. So the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? There are things you fully control, things you can control, and things you can influence. And managers can influence almost all of the things I just mentioned that we cannot control, right? We can influence to a bit. So I set out to find out, after I processed our conversation with Kate, I found out why people actually quit. I talked to 30, 40 people in my company, my friends, and I did a survey. And I want you to think about, guess what's the most popular option. I'll help you. The fourth one was other. But most people that I ask, especially if you go to Reddit, right, it's always money, right? Companies underpay, you have more living costs and stuff like that. But the reality is not like that. I put here the most common answer I heard from people before the survey. Salary was the lowest one. Not feeling appreciated, feeling like the company doesn't care about them and they will lay off them anyway or something like that. And the biggest one was not being challenged or not having a promotion. And this is my data, right? It's a few hundred people, but the survey I mentioned of Culture Amp backs this up. So there was 12% leaving because of their manager, 11% only left because of the salary, and more than 50 left because they were not challenged and not promotion. So that's the reality. And there are 5 main reasons I found that you saw. So salary, we discussed. Not feeling appreciated. This one was surprised, right? I didn't think about that. Not being challenged enough, no growth, not connecting to the mission of the company. And this one is very underrated, is not liking the people you work with. Leaving to work with other friends or something like that. And those are the 5 things I learned. And then someone told me, before I tried to figure out how I improve each of it to make sure nobody will ever quit under my management again, somebody asked me, why don't you ask why people stay? Because when people leave, they will always make excuses why they left the previous company. Maybe they stay for different reasons than they leave. And I actually asked the 5 questions, sorry, and why do you actually stay in your current company? And you can think about it for a minute, and he was right. There was 2 answers I didn't hear. Like only one person among, I asked 40 people, I heard about 2 of them only once, which is the salary and appreciation. Nobody told me I'm staying because I get paid a lot. And to give you the context, I talked about startups, right? If I would have talked to a staff engineer in Google making 1 million a year, maybe he would have told me that. But I talked just to people in small startup, and nobody told me they stay because their manager appreciates them, right? And this led me to understand that you leave because of those things, because they're obvious, but you don't stay. To actually stay, you need something among the other 3. To feel like you're challenged, right? You're probably in your current workplace because one of the 3. You are challenging, you are growing, it's interesting for you, you connect to the mission of the company, to what they're trying to achieve, and you just like the people you work with. So I came up with the model. That was the first part of the conversation of this talk. I came up with a model to try to improve all of that. Until now, I share just I would say data and facts. From now, it's my speculation. Right? This room is probably full of smart people, so please just take whatever works for you. This is not a scientific model. So one part I hate about Maslow's pyramid, hierarchy of needs, is that people assume everybody needs the same 5 stages, right? You know the pyramid I'm talking about. There is like basic needs, and then there's other needs, and you end up by self-actualization. And the truth is, in my opinion, that every person has a bit different pyramid, but the base is those basic things. Getting paid what you're worth and feeling like the company appreciated you. If one of them is not happening, you will probably quit very soon. But then comes the interesting part, that each person cares about something different. Some people care about growth, some people care about the mission of the company, and some about the people they work with. And what's interesting here, that most managers, they work on the things they care about. So if I made that mistake, I care about being challenged, right? I really care about having promotions, about improving. So that's what I will give my people. But many people don't care about that. And I will use an approach that works for me, but doesn't work for my team. So in this part, in the second part of the conversation, I will share practical things that work for me in each of those 5 parts. What did I do to improve the situation for my developers? As I said, to make sure nobody will ever quit again. That's a wish, of course. So first of all, let's cover the 2, I would say, the base of the model and the presentation. For many people, salary is not about taking care of their families. It's about ego and appreciation, especially if you know how much your friends are making and you know your company rips you off, you feel they don't appreciate you and underpay you. So those 2 are very, very connected. If you paid enough, you feel appreciated, and it's close together, so just take it into account. And here, the biggest tip I can give you about salary is we often don't control the amount, right? If we go back to this trichotomy of control, we don't control the amount our people will get. How it works in most places, right? You have a review cycle once a year, and then the managers sit together, decide who gets something, or usually it's your manager. You can't control how much your people are making, but you can control the timing of the decision. So let's imagine this scenario. Somebody asks you for a raise, right? There are 3 options. One, they will not get it. You tell them, we don't have enough money, you're not going to pay it anymore. Probably they will be quite angry and quit. If not immediately, then after 6 months when they don't get it. The other option, you give them less than what they ask for. And then it's kind of, thank you, but no thank you. You don't get any points for that. The third one, they get what they ask for. And the absurd part is you also don't get any points for that because they asked, you just gave them what they're worth, right? And they will be the same situation. They will not be very appreciative. Even if you had to fight a lot to get them what they ask for, they don't care. They asked for it, they got it. That's just work. But imagine if, let's say for us, those conversations happens end of December, right? So I asked my manager, let's have them end of October and decide in advance who is going to get a raise. And then I will be the one telling them in advance. So if somebody doesn't get a raise, I'll tell them, you know, I appreciate your work. I think you deserve a raise, but the situation in the company is a bit difficult. You know, we had layoffs 6 months ago. You will not get anything. I know you're disappointed. We'll try again in 6 months. They will be disappointed, but some of them will be at least open and think, okay, I appreciate you. Thank you for trying, right? Let's try to work on that in 6 months. It's a different situation. And if you give them what they plan to ask for, you get points because they didn't ask for it. You initiate it. And that's just something very easy to do. It's not that easy. And you will get some pushback from HR and stuff like that because it needs to be aligned. But if you really fight for it, it's quite an easy win. And for me, it really changed the conversation with people. They were much happier because the company initiated those conversations. Another thing about appreciation is, as managers, we often forget that we are the one delivering all good news, right? Every release we write in the Slack or Teams channels, we are the one hearing good feedback from customers. And it's quite obvious for us, but our people usually don't hear anything good, right? Once they have some production problems, they will hear about it. But what I try to do is I deliver all the bad news and I let my people deliver the good news, which required some adjustment, but they are the one writing about their releases. If we have a conversation with customer success about the feature that they want to give feedback, they will be joining me and leading this conversation, right? So they will get the feeling the work is important. And the last one, which is very, very weird, why it's so hard for us, right? If you just imagine the conversation, right? You go to a one-on-one, you have Michał, your friend, your employee, not your friend, and you want to say them, he's my friend, so yeah, got me confused. So you tell them, Michał, I think you did a great job this year. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being there for the team. Try to imagine that everyone was kind of cringe inside, right? It's kind of weird because, and it's strange. It's not tough feedback. It's a good thing to say, but I promise you, 90% of you don't do it enough, even 100% of you, because you're just not used to it, I think, and that's very powerful. It's take 1 minute, and you just need to overcome that embarrassment, and it's very powerful. So that's the base of the pyramid. And now I want to talk about the 3 types of people, and I want you to imagine yourself working in each of those scenarios and think whether you would have enjoyed it or not. First of all, imagine you work as a developer in a fintech startup, growing startup, right? There it grows, there is scale challenges, it succeeds. You don't really enjoy the people you work with. It's just 9 to 5, they're okay. And it's not like you have a passion for fintech, but you're growing, okay? The second scenario, you work at the bank with your best friend. You have lunch together, you go out to drinks outside of work, but it's kind of boring, no promotion in sight, and you know, it's a bank. No, nothing against bank, but. Third option, you work at a non-profit. I don't know, let's give internet, a non-profit, a real one, that gives access to internet to people in third countries, to kids. You are the sole developer, you work on the website, your main job is to upload blogs and stuff like that, not challenging at all, you don't have anyone to learn from, you don't grow, but you feel the impact. You hear about stories of children whose life was changed. And if you imagine those scenarios, every one of us, for one of them, will feel, no way I will survive that another day, right? No way. And for some of them, it will be like, okay, I can work with that. For me, the first scenario is something I would definitely survive for a while. If I'm growing, I get challenged, I get promoted, it's okay. I would definitely quit the bank the next minute. I don't really care about having friends in the workplace. I have enough. So everyone is a bit different. But as I said, there is a bias to think that everyone is like us. And these 3 scenarios is just a mental model, right? It's not like black and white. Some people care about 2 of those. People who want good people and growth. Some people don't care about any of them. Just want to get paid and do 9 to 5, and they will never quit because they want the stability. But 90% of people, if you imagine them, if you think about the people you work with, you manage, are in one of those 3 buckets. And in this second half of the presentation, I'll now go over each of them, how to identify them, and what you can do to make their lives better and make sure they will never quit. Not sure if I said that already. So, growth-driven people, right? These are the easiest to manage. They finish the sprints early. They want to take the toughest projects. They keep bringing up that promotion, right? What do I need to do to become senior engineer? Please tell me how to become a staff engineer. Get me concrete goals. Those are, I would say, the coding machines, right? The people you can depend on, the ones that are having the highest output. And they are quite hard to constantly challenge, right? Because you need to raise the bar every time. So what worked for me? First of all, a concept called Microskills. Let's take it in a practical example. I managed the full stack team before I became director. That was my last team. So it was kind of, I would say, diverse. There were some more back-end oriented, more front-end oriented people, and one of the front-end engineers wanted to be better at back-end. And a year ago, in the performance review, we decided we put a goal, get more back-end job, right? That's our goal, have more back-end project. But that was too abstract. So for the next year, we set a very small, specific skill she can actually improve on. For us, it was be the go-to person in unit tests in Python, right? It's a bit too technical, but it's a skill under the backend umbrella that she can master in 2 months, and she did. And people actually go to her for that specific, very specific problem. And it's easy to show growth that way, right? She can show she improves and she feels satisfied. So instead of setting huge goals, try to break them down. The other one that's useful for those people, it's kind of refreshment. Send them for another team for a month, right? For us, there is another team in my department which is front-end oriented. They're very, very strong with React. So I sent a developer there for a month, for 2 sprints, and he really, really enjoyed it. And he brought back some good insights, some connections, and it was something that I couldn't teach him. I am terrible at front-end, I'm back-end oriented, so someone else actually did my job for me and helped them understand where they can improve. And that last one is to give them something to own. And when people think about the kingdom, it's usually like an application, right? A developer owns a specific feature or a specific application, but that can be something a bit more technical. One thing that worked for me 5 months ago, there was a developer that's very into technical things and he wanted to learn about DevOps more. So I gave him ownership of our costs, right? He is the owner of the costs of our team, the whole infrastructure. He needs to understand which part of the company we are responsible for and reduce that. And he really enjoyed it. He worked on it in a side project. I gave him like a day or 2 each sprint, and he was able to reduce it by $35,000 yearly. Not monthly, which is, for a small startup, that's a lot. Nobody actually paid attention to the redundancy we have, because DevOps people often don't really know what's running on the infrastructure. He had the context. And that's a lot. It was nice for him. He can actually got a lot of credit, and he can write about it. But he feels responsible. Right now, every time we release something, he will just go there and make sure we are not using unoptimized costs. So that's something that you can give a person ownership and completely release the responsibility for them, and they will enjoy it and improve. That's the 3 tips, quick tips about people who are motivated by challenges and promotions. This one is the most underrated one. People who care about other people. My theory is because developers are most introvert and most managers don't care about it themselves, right? So if I don't care about creating a work atmosphere, having fun with my employees, I will not do it, even if my people care about it. And all of them, they want other people around. They try to organize social. They're the ones who say, let's go outside to grab drinks after work. The ones that cannot sit with handphones, right? If there is an interesting conversation, they will always remove the handphone and join. They just cannot stay silent if something like that happens around. They're excited when new people join the team. Like, they want to prepare something for them. They're really happy when new people join. And all they want is to feel part of a good team, right? Not working solo as the fintech guy worked. They want to be part of the team, and this is something that we cannot force, right? You cannot, as a manager, tell them, be friends with each other or something like that, but we can create opportunities for that. And this is also something that people have distaste for, right? I would say especially in European countries, there was like this feeling we need a bit of distance in the workplace. This is the work, this is life, let's not put them together, we don't need to have friends. So what works for me is, first of all, not doing things outside working hours, because people who don't care about making friends will hate you if they will miss family dinner because you wanted them to play bowling together. But during the working hours, you can do very simple activities that people will enjoy. I'll just share one of them. I have many of them. I'll have my email in the end if someone wants ideas. There's also things for remote teams. But one really fun we did actually 2 weeks ago, and one of the developers who care about people, he led that one. It's very simple. You sit in a circle, you have a page, you write your name on top of it, and then you pass the page to someone on your right. And then I ask a question. For example, what you dreamed about becoming as a child. And then you need to answer for the person you have their page with you, right? And then you pass it again. Who I dreamed of speaking with, who would have wished to speak with, right? If I could choose any celebrity, who would have wanted to have dinner with? And then you try to answer for the person you get the page on, and you pass it to the right. And then you have like 7, 8 questions, and in the end, everyone get their own page and need to see what people wrote about them and talk about it and share their real answers, which is very funny. It turns out people don't know anything about each other, and it took, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, and it created, this is what I talk about, creating an opportunity, because those conversations continued for a lot of time, right? Someone actually wanted to be an astronaut. He actually tried to do that and didn't know, right? After college, he really tried for it and was his dream, and until this, I would say, stupid activity, we didn't know about that. So it was a great one. Another one that worked for us, this is a common concept, but we did it with a twist, right? Every 2 weeks, we have a 30-minute talk, 15 minutes about tech, 15 minutes about everything that people want to talk about. And we had people talk about their mortgages, sharing how to do that, all the bureaucracy. People talk about building social presence, writing, cooking, whatever. And this is easy to do because 15 minutes is a short amount of time. It's easy for people to prepare. And it gives the stage, it's not like 30 minutes, let's just talk. You wrap it about something it's tech related. You have 50 minutes about, I don't know, Kubernetes, stuff like that, and 50 minutes about something else. And that worked really well. We did it for 6 months straight, and now we are on a break with that. That covers the second category, people that care about other people. The last one is people who care about the mission on the company, and I would say also about the business. I put them together in one category. They always ask questions. They are the only ones that actually listen in all hands when the CEO talks, right? They really care about what the business is doing. They're excited about deals that are happening, right? If we have a sale, a big customer, they're the one who actually care. And they also care about their own stock a lot. They will do the scenario, what will happen if we're a unicorn, how much money I'll make, right? They're invested emotionally in the future of the company. And those people actually for me, it's a pleasure to manage them, right? Because they are the highest motivated, in my experience, because they really care about what the company is doing. And one thing I wrote here goes back to the appreciation part. It's something I started to do actually quite recently. It started with a meeting. We had our head of customer success that had a meeting with all the engineering manager where he shared about a retention project they are doing. Right? They did a project to increase the retention in the company. And I thought to myself, maybe my people want to be there. And I asked if it's okay. And I told my team, if someone wants, direct message me and I will invite you. And the 2 people I guess we want, those are the ones that came and they really enjoyed that meeting. And since then, I actually put them as optional in some meetings and they actually come to some of them. And the important part is if people who don't care about those meetings, you invite them, they will be super angry at you because they want to be focused and they don't care about any of that. And they will feel guilty not coming because my manager wanted me to come to this meeting. So this is the part where you need to just invite the people who care and choose the right approach for each person. The other one is also very, very easy to do and not often used is you have team meetings, right? Usually it's just the team. And one thing I started around 2 years ago is bring people from outside the team for those team meetings. So it can be the CFO to talk about stock options. It can be the VP product to talk about the product direction. And the best one was actually bringing the CEO, which is something we have, let's say, tens of teams. And I was thinking, okay, what is the chance he will agree to come to our team meeting? And he said, yeah, nobody ever asked me, for sure. I have the time for it, right? I will join. And the good part about this is developers have access to executive and senior people only in a group setting, right? Maybe there is like a big meeting where they can ask questions, but people never ask questions when it's more than 20 people in the meeting, especially introverts. And here you have 5 people sitting with the CEO and can actually have a face-to-face conversation and ask questions. And people really enjoy that. And I try to bring customer success people, sales people, like all over the company for just 30 minutes. It's very quick. So other people that don't care about those topics don't suffer a lot. But it's an easy win, in my opinion. And another one is just keep them updated. As managers, we really often forget how it felt like to be a developer, how to not be in the loop. So we have private Slack channels, we have update from our own manager. We have a lot of information that only in our heads, and it feels kind of obvious for us that, this is obvious information, but people really appreciate having that information. Just updating them on what's happening in the company. And the management team will not always do that. It's up to you to actually pass that information along, even if it's obvious. And my best tip here is to do it in a one-on-one with the people who care about that information. Not that just do a weekly update with all of the team. Here's what I learned this week. Right? People who care, they care. In a one-on-one, spend 5 minutes updating them on interesting project. And the last one is cross-department efforts. People who care about the business really appreciate having the chance, especially if it's different countries. I had a project, we have an office in Brazil. I had a project that usually I lead, an early project. And then I let one of my developers to lead it. And for him, working with a different country, I would say maybe it's childish, but he felt important. He felt like he had access to other people that he never talked to. He felt growing and really connected to the company. So that's a lot, right? That's a lot of information to process, a lot of tips. I hope you took, as I said, the goal was just one. Don't do all of that, just choose one that you think will improve your connection with your developers. And what I want to say here, that you should never force such things, right? I tried it. So there was a developer, and we had a technical project to migrate from monolith to microservices, just a small migration, and I let him lead this. And for months, nothing moved. And I was like, that's a great opportunity for you. You learn something new, you learn skills and stuff like that, but he didn't care about it. He cared about people. He didn't want to do the technical project. He wanted to work on a product and other stuff. So my tip here is, if it doesn't move, maybe you shouldn't give that to that person instead of trying to understand how to motivate them to do it. Just give them something completely different. And this will work much better and actually remove the load from you. As I said here, it's a lot to take in, so your people can do it for you. If they really care and they enjoy it, just, for example, the fun activities, I don't do them. I just have 2 people who want to do them, and I give them the time and let them have fun whatever they want. So we just need to support them and give them the opportunity. And here comes the depressing part, right? That no matter what you do, no matter how good you are at your job, no matter if you implement everything, in the end, people will leave. They change, they want something else, maybe they want to study, maybe they want a challenge that your company can't provide. And it took me a lot of time to, I would say, make a peace with them and not feel resentful that they're abandoning everyone and just, part on very good terms. If we go back to Kate's story, of course I said, yes, you can give my number to the reference check, and they called me. I told them she's quite junior, there's a lot she doesn't know, she's not that good in her job, and she stayed with us for 6 more months. No, just kidding. I told them she's great, and she left, and we parted on good terms, and we are still in contact, and I think that's the right approach. We cannot, force people to stay with us. So if I have to wrap it all up with my takeaways here. So first of all, make sure people are paid what they're worth. Make sure they feel appreciated. Try to just tell them a single sentence, even if it's quite hard for you. And talk with them. I don't expect you to, share the whole stories about non-profit and bank and stuff like that, but have a conversation. What do you care about? If you had to choose one of those 3 buckets, which one would you choose? And then talk about initiative in that bucket that they can lead, and tailor your approach to the people and not to what's convenient to you. And I promise you'll have much higher percentage of people that stay with you for a while. And the last thing, if you want to hear more about engineering management tips, feel free to scan it or Google leading developers and subscribe. Also, you can email me at zaidesanton@gmail.com. I promise to answer everything. And I have another talk in the growth stage about what's broken in product management, which is a bit spicier. So feel free to join me there in 1 hour. Thank you very much.